What's up, y'all? GT Jesse here, back with another Gran Turismo 7 video, and in today's video, actually what I'm going to show you is applicable to Gran Turismo 7, but it's also applicable to Gran Turismo Sport, and that is how you can create custom decals that you can upload to the Gran Turismo decal library. And so if you look at the Supra here on the screen, the GT Omega decal that's on the side of it is the decal that I'm going to show you how I created today. And I created this decal just using a picture that I downloaded off of the internet. The last video that I posted about decals was more about how to upload decals, but it didn't really talk about how to actually create the decal. And there were a lot of questions that people had about their decals showing up blank, or their decals showing up as black and white, or just all black. And so this video, I'm hoping it's going to take you through how I actually created the decal. And there are some videos on YouTube that really kind of already show you how to do this, but they're pretty well dated at this point, and the software and tools that you can use to create decals have been updated quite a bit since then. So in this video, I'm hoping that you'll get some use out of it and be able to use more updated versions of the software and techniques and tools that will help you to create decals and upload them to the Gran Turismo decal library. So I hope you enjoy. If you do, please do go on ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, as I will be creating more content like this as we progress along in the game. Now, one thing I do want to just mention real quick is the technique that I'm using today does not use any online converters to do an automated conversion from a picture to an SVG. I've seen a lot of comments on my previous videos where people were saying their SVGs are uploaded blank, their SVGs show up black and white, they show up as an outline. Those are usually all symptoms of using an automated converter to try and convert a picture to an SVG. The automated process, it just isn't fine-tuned enough, and you end up losing a lot of the data and the quality of the image. So this process does use actual graphic editing software. It is free software, it's available for Mac and Windows, and it does not use an automated online converter. Okay, so this is Inkscape, and Inkscape is the software that we're going to use to create our decal. And if you haven't used Inkscape in the past, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to use it. It is free software, and you can get it right from their website. It's compatible with Mac and Windows. This is the image that I pulled from the internet, and this is the final SVG. And I'm basically going to show you how I got from point A to point B here. Now, something to keep in mind as we're going through this conversion, with any decal that you're uploading to Gran Turismo, the main challenge that you're going to run into is ensuring the decal is within the parameters that polyphony requires. So basically it can't exceed 15 kilobytes, and it has to be in this SVG format. So everything that we're going to be doing is going to be with the focus of maintaining the quality while also reducing the file size. And there's basically 3 or 4 main things that you can do to maintain that quality and reduce the file size. And I'm going to show you what they are. But first, we have to convert our image to a vector. And so you can just drag and drop your image right into this editor here. So first you select the object that you're going to convert to a vector. And then you go to the path menu, and then you trace bitmap. And I've actually listed here the options that you want to select, but essentially you're going to do multiple scans, you're going to select colors, you're going to select these 3 boxes here, you're going to deselect these boxes here, and then if you pull this over, you can click on update, and it'll give you basically a preview of what that image is going to look like. Now, the number of scans here is something that I would recommend you play around with, because if you use fewer scans, it's going to be a simpler file to work with, but you lose some of the information as you go with fewer scans. So you can see it's really choppy down in here, and we've also lost the black when we go all the way down to 2. If we go up to 4, we get the black back, but it's still kind of choppy. And I've actually played around with this already. It seems for me the best option is going to be 8 scans. So we're going to click update, and then we'll click apply. We have now created a separate object that we can pull into basically our canvas here. And so first thing I want to do is basically zoom in here and get a better look at what we're working with. And you can see all of these kind of fuzzy lines here. And if you've ever looked at like a topographical map, or if you even think about it like a pyramid, basically these are layers, one on top of another, kind of like a wedding cake, like tiers. The top layer is going to be the smallest, and the bottom layer is going to be the biggest. And those layers are pretty much modeled after the pixelation that you see here in the original image that we imported. So what we want to do to reduce the file size, first and foremost, is to get rid of unnecessary layers. And then after we get rid of all of the unnecessary layers, we're going to delete unnecessary elements or objects. And then even further down, we're going to delete unnecessary nodes. And if you're not familiar with what any of that means, that's okay. I'm going to walk you through it. It seems like a lot, but it's really rather straightforward. So first, to break this object up into its individual layers, you're going to select the object, and then you're going to go up to Object, and you're going to click on Ungroup. Once you ungroup, you can actually just peel the layers off one by one. And I think that's the last one. Oh, no, there's one more. If you look at the logo here, it's basically made up of red and black, right? So we don't need gray. We don't need any of these transparent layers. So we're actually just going to go on ahead and delete these. And we're pretty much just going to retain the red layer and the black layer. Now, for all intents and purposes, that probably is going to be enough for this decal from a downsizing perspective to make it small enough to where we can upload it to the Gran Turismo servers. If we look at the original file size, you'll see that it started off as 20 kilobytes. And then if I were to just take this just going to save it as its own separate file. And we're just going to call it test. We can see that it's already 9 kilobytes, so it's already small enough. But I want to show you basically what you need to do to resize and rework much more complex decals. And actually, if you even look at this, you'll see that it's really not perfect, because kind of like what I was explaining with like the pyramid concept or the topographical map concept, the top layers are smaller than the bottom layers. And so we've lost some of the information that's relevant to this logo or this decal, and we want to get that back. And so, first thing that we want to do is basically reshape the T and the lower half of the G to basically mirror what we see below in the red portions. And after we do that, we're going to delete the red portions altogether, because we really don't need them. It's just extra data in the vector file. So we can actually just delete those after we get the black portions resized to be the appropriate dimensions. So to do that, we're going to come over here and we're going to use this tool. It's the Edit Paths by Nodes tool. And we're basically going to start snapping our terminal nodes to shape. And when I say terminal nodes, I basically mean the nodes that are more or less on the end of any of the angles or end of any of the basically edges of our decal. So at the top of the T here, you should only have 2 terminal nodes, right? You're going to have the one on the right hand side, one on the left hand side, and then all of these other nodes in the middle here, they're not really doing anything because this is more or less a straight line. So to reduce the file size, you want to delete those excess nodes. So once we delete those, we can see that the black still doesn't quite line up with the red. So we want to take this handle, which this handle is actually connected to the node on the left here. And we're going to drag this handle all the way to this node. And then we're going to take this handle, which is connected to the node on the right, and we're going to drag it all the way over to the left node. Okay, so now we have a nice straight line on the top edge of our T, and it spans the entire width of the T, and we don't have any excess data points in between our terminal nodes. So now that we've done that, I'm basically going to go through and do that exact process for all of the edges on the T and all of the edges on the G. And I'm actually going to fast forward the video while I do that because there's nothing really to say while I do it except that I'm basically just deleting the nodes in the middle here. Anything that's not considered a terminal node, I'm getting rid of. And then I'm just snapping the terminal nodes to shape. Okay, so if you look at that T, that's looking pretty good. And what we can actually do now is switch back to our select tool, and we're going to take the black and we're going to peel it off to the top. And now we want to get rid of the actual red T because again, there's no data in here that we need any longer. We've basically preserved all of the integrity of that T just in the black here. So we can just delete that. But to do so, there's several different ways that you can do this. What I would normally say is select your object and then go to path and break apart. Now, when you break apart, it basically takes one object, which was previously an entire layer that was grouped together, and it breaks it into several pieces. So whereas before we're moving around the whole layer, now we're moving around individual objects in the layer, and we could just delete the T. But as you saw, when I did the break apart tool, and this happens a lot with lettering, it actually filled in all of the white space. And I don't want that, and I don't want to deal with it. It's just extra work. So what I'm actually going to do here is switch back to the node tool. And let me just make sure that these are actually grouped back together. So we're going to go back to path, and we did break apart before. Now we're going to do combine, and that just makes it all one coherent layer again. We're going to go to the node tool. We're going to click on the T so we can see the nodes. And we're really just going to start going in here and deleting these nodes. And as we do that, it's basically just going to get rid of the shape. That will inadvertently completely get rid of the T. Okay, so we got rid of the T. And now when we peel this back down, we can see, again, we didn't need that red T on the bottom there. Now that we have the black T, we're good to go in that regard. And I also want to do the same for the lower half of the G here. And so I'm going to go on ahead and do that, and I'll fast forward the video while I do so. Okay, so now both the G and the T look good. We can go on ahead and remove the lower half of the G. There we go. Actually, a better way to do that would be to keep the black layer on top so we know exactly where it belongs. Select the red layer, flip over to the node editor, and just delete those nodes. And then if we select the T, use the up arrow, we can see the entire rest of the G is gone. Okay, so this file is obviously small enough at this point to be uploaded to the Gran Turismo server, but a couple of other things that you can do, because this again is a very simple decal. There are much more complicated decals out there that you can upload. And so ways that you can further reduce this file size, just like we did, with the G and the T, we can go in and just delete excess nodes that don't really add any value. You can see there's a lot of hard angles here, and if you look at the actual GT Omega logo, those are actually rounded edges, but they look like the way the layers were created. It created these hard angles. So if you go in and you get kind of creative with which nodes you delete and which ones you keep, you can actually see that a lot of those hard edges you can get rid of. So you can go around basically any of these nodes that you delete. It's deleting data points within the file, and so it's going to reduce the file size. And in this case, it's also going to inadvertently make your logo look a little bit better, because it's going to basically get you back to those rounded edges. So let's say we went through that entire process. We cleaned up all of the excessive nodes. We removed all of the unnecessary objects and all of the unnecessary layers. And then let's say the file size is still, for one reason or another, too big. What can we do next? Well, next, what you would want to do is basically go through what I would consider as a much more broad strokes, kind of a broad sweep of reducing the file size. Now you can, there's this tool that I guess the guy's name is Jake Archibald created, called SVG OMG. And if you go to that tool, you can basically open SVG files. And I'm going to use this one as an example, just because it's going to be easier to illustrate. And we'll choose this one. It's 271 kilobytes. And if we open it, we'll see, okay, what this looks like. And right now it's 270 kilobytes, but it looks like this right now. And this is with the highest precision. It would reduce it from 270 to 235, basically compressing and removing any unnecessary attributes. But you can actually reduce the precision, and as you do that, the file size reduces pretty drastically as well. So this 270 kilobyte file reduces down to 38 kilobytes just doing this SVG OMG process. You do lose a lot of information when you do it. So if you look really closely, if we reduce the precision too much, you can see how much information is lost. But you can get creative with it, and you can kind of, work it out to the best of, whatever logo you're working with. And it's kind of a last ditch resort to reduce the size of a logo before you upload it to the Gran Turismo livery editor. One thing I do want to mention that I forgot to put in the video is after you've finished doing all of your edits, and after you've deleted all of the nodes and everything, and you have everything stacked back together nice and neat, you just want to drag and drop your mouse over the entire file so that you select all of the layers, and then go back into the object menu and click on group. Just like you did in the beginning where you ungrouped all of the layers, you just want to group them back together, and that's just going to help maintain the integrity of the file before you do go in and save it, or before you upload it to the Gran Turismo decal library. Beyond that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, as I will be creating more Gran Turismo 7 content as we progress along in the game. And I think the next video is probably going to be, you can see the time lapse here where I'm creating this GT Omega livery, but I'm actually going to take you through step by step my process that I use to create liveries, and kind of walk you through some of the tips and tricks that I've learned as I've progressed along in the game. So now not only do we know how to create our own decals, but we got a separate video that shows you how to upload them, and the next video that I post will hopefully be a video that shows you how to incorporate them into an overall holistic picture of creating your livery. So thanks again for watching, appreciate it. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great rest of your day.